Let's get ready and talk about grief. Wasn't planning on shooting a video today, but I just got an email and I have a break in my schedule and I thought, let's do it. Let's get this out. Because sometimes I think that my first reaction to something is my best reaction. I'm gonna read you this email that I truly just received. Hi, I just saw your TED Talk on moving forward. Thank you. My mother died after a 1.5 year battle with Parkinson's disease. I'm in depression. Make me feel better that I don't have to move on. First of all, the TED Talk that she's talking about is this one. We don't move on from grief, we move forward with it. Making that TED Talk was an act of passive aggression. I'm originally from Minnesota, so passive aggression is my native language. It's actually not English. It's, oh, that's interesting. I did that TED Talk for exactly this reason and exactly this situation. So people who were feeling pressured, whether, overtly or covertly, to move on from their grief would have language for it. And I try not to be like, the language police. I think most people are doing their best. People aren't trying to offend us. Most of the time, people aren't trying to upset us. It is a very normal thing for people to say that it's time to move on from something. But what I know about grief, after living with grief, if I were a witch, it would be my familiar. It is my dark passenger if I were a serial killer like Dexter. After living with grief for 10 years, after losing my father, after losing my husband, after losing a pregnancy. By the way, all this happened in a 6-week span. What I've learned is that moving on is a myth. Moving on is a fiction. Moving on is something that we are expected to do not for our own well-being and our own comfort, but for the comfort of others. I think most of the time when people tell us it's time to move on, they are trying to tell us that they are simply uncomfortable with the conversation and they'd like to talk about something else. They'd like to have a different kind of relationship with us, and one that does not include all of our grief, all of our depression, all of our sadness. And I also think that there is such a thing as being stuck in your grief. I learned that through a discussion with Catherine Shear from Columbia University, who was one of the researchers who originated the phrase prolonged grief disorder. And when I first heard that phrase, prolonged grief disorder, I thought, give me a break. Do we have to pathologize grief? Do we really need to make it into a disease? And I had a great conversation with Catherine when I interviewed her for the podcast, and I suggest anybody who is curious, listen to that. We'll link it in the description. They have a self-assessment at the Center for Prolonged Grief at Columbia University. I'll put that in the description as well, because the difference between grief and prolonged grief disorder is somebody who's experiencing prolonged grief disorder is, unable to enjoy life at all, is overly preoccupied with the death of the person that they lost, is, defying kind of all cultural and social norms. And I'm not saying that that is what this person is going through, but I am saying that that is a real thing. And I walk the line between really validating people's grief and their feelings of grief around a situation or a person that they lost, and also wanting to make sure that I am not encouraging people to detach from the good that is still in the world and in their life. So I'm not a therapist. I cannot tell you based on, a 2-sentence email or really, anything, whether or not this is what that caller is experiencing. But I wanted to at least say that and acknowledge that that is a real thing. But another real thing is that we are expected to get back to work, get back to life without any actual support for our grief. You might get a 3-day bereavement leave if you're lucky, if you live in the US. It's not good, right? You're expected to just sort of bounce back, get back into the swing of things, whether or not you're ready. And to me, in my opinion, I think that probably does contribute to this feeling of prolonged grief, or the prolonged grief disorder is if you don't have time to feel it, if you don't have time to really experience it, how could you possibly heal from it? But this person asked for reassurance that they do not have to move on from the death of their mother. And so let me be very clear. You do not have to move on from the death. Let me be very clear as I stutter. You don't have to move on from the death of your mother. You don't have to move on from the death of your father, your sibling, your best friend, your boyfriend, your wife, your whoever, anybody that matters to you. You do not have to move on. And you must remember that life is for the living. Memento mori is a Latin phrase that it translates roughly to remember that you must die. Memento vivere, remember you must live. Life is for living. You do not honor your dead person by wrapping yourself around their loss and making it the center of your world and your personality. You honor that person by living fully in the face of this loss. And that does not mean that you have to like YOLO yourself like out of an airplane, that you have to, live every day as though you were dying, which what does that even mean? It means that you do have to live your life. You have to live your life. When I'm really struggling, I like to imagine what my dad or my dead husband would say to me in this situation. What would they want for me? And I think that most of us, if we really sit with that, would know that the people that we lost, who we love, would want us to live, would want us to be okay-ish. So no, you do not have to move on from the death of your mother. You do not have to move on from your grief. You have to move forward with it. And in the words of the writer and wise person, Nora McInerny, it is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. It is your responsibility to take care of yourself. This is no small thing, again, in a culture that is grief averse, that does not have a culture of care, but it's an important thing. It is an important thing that you take care of yourself, that you get yourself to a therapist, that you get yourself to a bereavement group, that you find somebody out there that can understand your experience, that can give you, again, to quote Nora McInerny, that cold glass of water in hell. That's what community does for us, especially when we are grieving. You are the only person who lost your mom. Even if you have siblings, you are the only person who lost the version of your mom, that relationship that the two of you shared. That is always going to be yours, but you are not alone. You are not the only person who has felt similar things. You are not the only person walking through this world with a hole blown through your chest, with like a phantom limb that you can still feel. It is not just you. Other people feel this way too. Go find your people, go take care of yourself. You do not have to move on from grief, but you do have to find a way to move forward with it. And I have to put on mascara because without it, I look like a little sewer rat. But a big sewer rat, because I'm actually very tall. Brag. Also, the desk is so messy. I gotta tidy this stuff up. I moved the camera angle because I thought it might be like more intriguing, and now I'm like, I don't think it was more intriguing. I think it's just like messy looking. That's okay. That's okay. I've done better. Oh geez, there's like crust. I'm Nora McInerny. I'm disgusting. We'll see you back here next time. If you're new here to our YouTube, we have videos a couple times a week. Sometimes the desk is clean, sometimes the desk is dirty. Like, subscribe. We have really grown this channel, and that is thanks to you. So thank you for being here. If you want more from me, I have a podcast that comes out on Substack twice a month. That's linked in the description. I also write a weekly essay email that goes out for free to everybody who signs up for the Substack. Again, at the link in the description. And I think that's it. And if you want to call or write in or ask any kind of question, the phone number is 612-568-4441, and the email is thanks@feelingsandco.